Welcome to Range. I'm Jack Solomon, and this is the podcast for comp and reward people building with AI without losing their grip on the pay decision. Every episode, one practitioner, one honest conversation about what AI can actually do in our world and where you still need a human in the room. Be curious, stay a little skeptical, and here we go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Range podcast. Today, I'm here with Arif Ender, who's a highly experienced SolarWorks professional. He's been around for quite some time. His career spans almost 2 decades in multinational corporations such as Palo Alto Networks, Meta, Mars, and Nestlé. He's currently the Director of Compensation for EMEA and LATAM at Palo Alto Networks, where he leads compensation strategy and program implementation across, brace for it, over 65 countries. Arif, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Tell us a little bit more about when you started using AI in your work. Like, you've been around for 2 decades, if not more, right? You've been doing the work in the more traditional way. And over the past 4 or 5 years, this buzzword came around, AI, and you probably looked at it, it looked at you, it was a match made in heaven. But tell us a little bit more, how did that happen? What was that moment where you decided, I'm going to start exploring this?
First of all, thanks for the opportunity, Jack. It's always a pleasure, talking to you. So where did things start? I had the same question last week when I was attending a seminar, a reward seminar here in Amsterdam. Technically, if I really look back, it was when I first joined Facebook. Now it's Meta. It was Facebook when I joined. And I got one of the first tasks. It was about like a sentiment analysis that was done manually. About these pulse or engagement surveys, as they call it. And we wanted to get a kind of a understanding about like how employees feel about compensation and benefits at Facebook. So and I said like there might be a better way to do that. And when I was talking to the other, it was just because they were also Turkish. I was also trying to make some, connections. I was fresh in the company, and some of them were really just working on machine learning to feed our platform security. They were just basically using some posts and stuff to kind of feed that in and train. And I said like, "Ooh, this might be cool. Actually, I can use the same technology, maybe just do a language processing." And I got access. I asked for it. I got access to that platform to do the machine learning, and I basically uploaded, I don't know how many. Still, it was like hundreds of comments.
Right.
And it was like, boom, it just kind of proposed like, how many is positive, how many is negative. But it was in literally minutes. And I will say, if I will do manually, I would say like an 80% accuracy, which I buy it, for the time gain. And that was the first time I was exposed. Technically, what we call is generative AI,
Gotcha. You seem to have some familiarity with the terms and the technology. Out of interest, have you always worked in compensation? And was that like a deliberate choice you made when you started your career?
How I started is also interesting. I studied engineering by education with a master's in industrial engineering and technology management. So there comes the geek part, I think.
Yes.
I think. And I also did software development while I was studying, like a part-time, while I was at university. So I started as an engineer in Mercedes-Benz. 2 years later, I realized I think I need more exposure to something more people-centric. Although I enjoyed studying engineering, I think that analytical thinking, critical thinking, whatever those skill sets now, the STEM what we call next STEM education. I truly believe in that. I enjoyed it. But in the real life, I wanted something that relates or connects more to people. And basically, I went back to HR. I said, I want to pursue something else. What can we do? They told me sales, marketing. No, we also have this opening in compensation and benefits. Said, oh, okay, that seems interesting. What do they do? I had no idea right away. Yeah, basically, it's all about managing people. How are we going to manage pay? What we provide as benefits? I said,
And you're
interesting.
you're there
It
thinking probably,
close.
oh,
Yeah.
it's probably a high paying job since it manages pay. You know, it's like I'm
I
gonna
had
go
no
in there.
access to that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It was just an assumption. But when I look at the team, interestingly, my manager back then and all my colleagues, they were all mechanical or industrial engineers. I said, okay, yeah, this might be a good fit. Within HR, it's the more engineering part of the HR. So let's give it a try. I mean, worst case scenario, in Turkey, there's this compulsive military service. Worst case scenario, I go to military. I had to do
Well,
it anyway.
gl-
So,
glad you're not in the military right now with everything that's happening in the world.
no, yeah.
Like that would be a challenging situation, but it's interesting, right? Because you look at other leaders working in compensation, total rewards. We all have different backgrounds. Or some people have an economist, like are economists by background. Some people are lawyers by background. Some people are, they've studied philosophy or physiotherapy. It's so diverse. I know that in your blog you mentioned an identity problem that could, impact some of the reward teams out there. And I wanted to learn more about it and see what your thinking is in terms of how AI is reshaping the perception and identity of the compensation team.
Um, I'm sure a lot of the rewards people will correlate what I'm saying. Basically, I think now the terminology or basically how we identify ourselves should change. Um, if you really look at it, the things that we build or we are building in our current profession or what we are managing, we always look at it like, it's a program, compensation programs managers, or it is like a project management, a big project coming up. We're going to do, let's say, an incentive design. But technically, I think we should start looking at it from a product management perspective. First of all, technology is shaping all the professions, not only ours. And secondly, we are going towards that mindset. Like you have developers, you have product management. If you really look at the software world, if you look at a product organization in any tech company or even in non-tech company, basically the R&D part, you will see there is developer operation like DevOps, then you have the builders, software engineers, and there's these product managers who manage the whole roadmap.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think we were already doing it. We were just not calling that one out loud as a product manager. And I think it's time that we might need a mind shift towards that. So technically,
Yeah.
rewards people, I see them in the future as product managers.
Yeah. We've been talking about bringing product thinking into compensation and more broadly HR for quite some time. But there are just a few companies that were able to successfully do that. But I think now with AI, we've really pulled the curtain on that debate. And speaking about debates, I'd love to learn where you stand. Should every compensation professional become a product thinker, AI builder? So by that we mean using AI, automations, and no-code tools like Codex, Cloud Code, Lovable to create automations, to create workflows, and even perhaps internal comp apps for specific use cases. Where you stand on that?
A lot of prereqs, let's say, some
Hmm.
requirements to be able to do that. First of all, if we are giving, let's say, an analogy from manufacturing, the Kanban methodology, first in, first out, right? And if we kind of also translate it to data, crap in, crap out. So if you really do not have a good data infrastructure, if you do not have solid policies that can explain everything, the rationale, the eligibility, basically any guardrails, ring fencing towards any certain program you have, if they are not documented well, if they are not version controlled and stuff. So basically, whatever you build on top of it is gonna bring you way
Headaches.
worse outcomes,
Right.
and at scale, because the pace and the speed and the scale of AI actually multiplies also the worst things. Yeah, I mean, if you give something good, it makes it better at scale, right? uh, do the opposite. If something
Right.
is wrong, that mistake becomes really way more bigger
Yeah.
than if you would have done it manually.
So what you're
So
saying is data, you know, as the foundation of your AI models, and getting your house in order before you build is is a pivotal moment.
of course,
Count
yeah. And I can
Counterpoint.
I can give you an example on that one. We are in Google Workspace here, so we are using Notebook LM. And
Mhm.
the one of the ideas we had, like, we are getting a lot of tickets from the recruiting about, what is the allowance in this country? What is, I don't know, job to price in that country? Is this country eligible for providing RSU? Like all these questions, technically super basic questions with maybe one policy to be explained or referred to and stuff. So let's do a library on Notebook LM. Basically we just upload all the policies, all the tables that is open to TA, and create it as a chatbot. They can go, instead of raising a ticket, waiting for a certain SLA, they can literally get it in seconds. They type
That's an excellent
and not,
idea.
yeah. The problem, we had one or two policies, we used the outdated versions. And that's
Ah,
where I say, that mistake can multiply at scale.
yeah.
Basically, we had to clean up so much mess in a couple of offers because the outdated policy had obviously different numbers,
Mhm.
which were outdated. So, and that went to offers. It was not cool. So that is the best example. It's super simple. One policy, outdated, it can create so much mess that eventually you had to again go back, intervene manually.
Mhm.
And I told, like, I wish I could basically open that ticket manually, respond, and close it. I wouldn't have this. I spent
Right.
way more hours. So that's why I'm always just, we are going like one step back and see, okay, is everything in order as a foundation? Then we
Absolutely.
build on top of it.
Counterpoint to that, it is clear that before you start building with AI, you want your data house in order, right? Your policy versions named and in line for you to make sure to pick the right one. But what if AI can help you with that? Do you envisage a way or a scenario where AI can help you get that data in order? Whether it's your salary data, whether it's your historical performance ratings, whether it's your premium offer policy or recruitment policy. Do you see a way we could use AI for that to make it less cumbersome?
We are in a profession that really requires, I think, an oversight. And the one thing that I also mentioned in last week's seminar, because it was way more like, I would say, EMEA specific as well, the EU AI Act is coming up. And one of the
Mhm.
biggest requirements there is the human oversight. So
Yeah.
first of all, we can't let AI do everything. And you know what? Oh, okay, it's perfect. Technically, we should be able to prove that a human being has reviewed the output. So
Right.
I agree with that, because no matter what, I think we are in a profession that there is still somehow a human influence or interpretation is still required, because HR in itself is not like that black and white. I mean, at the end of the day, coding is. If you even train a small language model with just one guidance about a certain product or documentation of a language, coding language, I'm sure they can start right away,
Yeah.
coding in a good quality. But HR is not like that. We don't have just one playbook to play. When there is human in it, it is always a gray area. And unfortunately, AI is not there yet, I think. Or I won't risk it, basically. The risk is too much to let
Right.
it go.
I agree. I wrote about this as well. To your point, I think that's what the AIU Act wants to tackle. It wants to make sure that we do not inadvertently decide to switch off our brains because now we have this new capability that undoubtedly can do jobs better than us, like cleaning up your folders. I had a go at that too, by the way. And you know why I was so amazed? Because Cloud Code not just cleaned up my folders and reorganized them, it added a README MD file explaining what every folder does for better context retrieval every time I ask Cloud Code to, look at my folders, my documents, and do something with it.
At the end of the day, I think AI is going to become your best ever analyst, comp analyst or rewards analyst that you can have. But still, you still have the end decision making, the influence that you're going to have as a business partner, the brain behind the strategy. Basically, you'll get the inputs instantly, probably in a way more accurate, in a way more structured way. But who's making the call? I'm glad that you read the blog post. What I'm referring to, besides the product management view, another thing that I'm trying to kind of influence, even in my team here as well, is basically we are architects, not analysts anymore. Like if you are stuck in the analyst definition, and if you see that in rewards, I don't think you have too much lifespan in this profession. But if you see yourself as an architect, that's another thing.
I
Eh,
agree. I think what the role will become is like you're not analyzing yourself the data anymore. You are orchestrating different tools or agents that call different tools through APIs, MCPs, etc. to do that work for you, but then you are reviewing everything. You are essentially the orchestra's director. You're not the musicians anymore. The musicians are your agents. The instruments are the tools they call to get the job done, and you're directing all of it. So, to your point, I think that's what the analyst role is becoming. It's something of a architect slash orchestrator. Now, there will undoubtedly be junior comp analysts listening to this podcast, Arif, and I wonder, what's your advice for someone that's, maybe being laid off, especially in the tech space? We've seen a lot of layoffs, arguably due to AI. Who knows if that's just the narrative of or the reality? But what's your advice for them in terms of how they can upskill and avoid becoming obsolete in the market? But it's not just for juniors, right? It's also for seniors.
yeah, I'll say one sentence, and I think that is a really good headline, if you ask me. I think for the next couple of years or next decade, let's say, let's make it a little bit long term. If you are valued at this point, how you do a great modeling in a certain spreadsheet, and this is your value to the company or to an organization, or this is the skill set that you are bragging about, it's gonna be really tough. But if you are valued because of your insights, critical thinking, trying to utilize such a technology for your productivity, plus you marry that with your critical thinking and insights and your influence, your business partnering, this is going to be the best decade of your career. Basically, you just need to upskill yourself how to use these skills and this technology. What we are getting every day, it's a huge improvement just to be able to catch up with that, stay on top
Yeah.
of it, try to utilize effectively, but marry that with those skill set, better strategic communication, critical thinking, analytical, trying to grasp, filter sometimes, or evaluate what AI gives to you. Don't take it right away, granted. I think right now it's so obvious, AI generated stuff. I think we can see it from miles away. Make it basically evolve it in a way with your hands. That's
Hmm.
where it becomes really, really valuable.
Excellent.
First of all, we are trying to like really boost our processes at my current company with AI. Obviously, I'm in cybersecurity, and we are one of the frontiers in my industry as a company, utilizing AI and also securing AI. So it's quite an interesting phase that we are in as a
Hmm.
company. So that's why it's always in our daily life. How are we going to use AI or AI left, right, center? So the only problem that I have, because we know the risks of this emerging technology, and having kind of a zero trust mentality, that's pretty normal, I would say, in cybersecurity. Um, Basically, the tools that we take on board is a bit slow, but we are getting there. So I think the last time we spoke, Jack, about it, like things changed. So now we have agent designers and stuff for us. So we automatically started with a roadmap. So how can we utilize agentic AI in compensation? So we laid out like a couple of projects, you know, did some sort of an impact analysis, effort impact analysis, let's say, like how much will it take? What do we need? And how do we get there? But we immediately started like with 2 agents. Now we are just trying to kind of finalize. We are actually stress testing the prompts about one is offer agent. We just want to automate the offer proposals. The other one is we are utilizing a couple of gems. They are not maybe agentic, but for job architecture, job matching. One is data visualization for actually business partnering.
Okay.
When we are doing like
Hmm.
trainings or kind of like a briefing during the pay planning
Hmm.
cycles we have twice a year, we are utilizing the data visualization. We just kind of like feeding all the pay planning data and utilize Gemini to create all the data visualizations and decks for us. So it takes almost like 3-4 days for each business partner, for comp business partner to do that. It becomes a couple of hours max with even just basically iterating, correct, auditing and stuff. So it's pretty cool. On the personal note, I'm a proud Claude Max subscriber.
Nice.
Although it's not cheap, but it pays off. I think it's probably this year's best investment from a skills development perspective. I'm learning a lot while I'm vibe coding during evenings and weekends. So I'm working with some ex-colleagues, some friends for a couple of projects, let's say, we call it, side hustle. Let's see how they are going to go. Mostly, again, some comp products, but with a different twist. So hopefully you'll hear more about them
Oh,
soon.
I'm
Uh,
yeah, very intrigued for sure.
yeah,
And it's not that someone needs to start from building end-to-end compensation platforms, right? I think you can start by like you can really ask Claude or Codex to write scripts that you run locally in your terminal to do some of the grunt work, to automate some of the, steps inside a workflow, be it salary band design, be it pay reviews, that kind of that task that no one wants to do, that AI is good at. There's no spill of information, stays in your computer, and that's a good place where to start, right? We've designed several of these scripts, and the community goals we have in Range are precisely, to help people start with simple things that make a huge difference. But it's also great to hear that you're dreaming bigger and thinking about actual, like end-to-end applications that eventually, when you get to that experience level, you can ship across your company.
It was also pretty interesting because I stress tested. I'm more Claude user, but I try to utilize almost all of them. For instance, for deep research and like quick search, I also use Perplexity. And then for probably generally more text generation, I also use Gemini and ChatGPT. Kind of, I mix and match, but my 80% I am on Claude. And what was fascinating is from very early career, I built a modeling, a certain modeling that we actually also asked an external vendor to help us, which charged us almost $8,000 or something and shipped within 4 or 5 weeks. I uploaded that model to Claude. Can you do this web-based? 15 minutes, it was done, man. I said, okay.
Game changer.
Yeah, this is going to be game changer.
Thanks for coming to the podcast, Arif, and for sharing your knowledge and experience. If you had one piece of advice for a compensation/total rewards leader that is feeling behind the AI curve and wants to invest their time wisely in the next couple of weeks, what would that be?
Well, it doesn't have to be in the company. Just think about it, like even generalize it. What is your number one, number two, let's say top 3 problem that you face as a challenge, as a stress factor in your current job, or even maybe in your past roles? And really sign up maybe at least for 1 month, just pay for a good Claude or ChatGPT and start building it and reiterate. Use a couple of best practice prompts. That actually is a really good one that I can recommend. Asking also AI to challenge you, and asking always for no assumptions, ask clarifying questions. Do not take shortcuts. I use these a lot, and it really changes how I interact with AI as well, because you also learn as you go, because it asks you something you are never exposed. Should I do this in terms of security? Should I add this feature? I never thought of that. Yeah, it makes sense. And build it. I think it sparks some ideas, or maybe it just directly gives a product to you right away that you can utilize. It's a thought partner.
That's a wrap. If this was useful, follow the show and send it to the one other calm person you know who needs it. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.